Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and this guy over here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Hey, tonight, we're going to get into like a Friday forensics / Lori Vallow Daybell Shallow. I like to call Lori Vallow Shallow Vallow, as you guys know. Her trial starts on Monday. The jury has been selected. It's 3 women and 13 men. And many out there in the Twitter spheres are arguing that these 13 men are going to be manipulated by this one right here. I don't think so. She's looking a little rough around the edges nowadays, Ed. But this one should be an interesting trial because she is going to be representing herself. And we saw that in many other trials, and it becomes a disaster. And many of the talking heads who are attorneys said that this is a slam dunk case because it's conspiracy to commit murder against her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. He's the victim here. Ed, how you doing tonight? And I know we got a lot to talk about because we covered this extensively.
Oh yeah, doing good, doing good. I'm glad to be here and happy to see everybody in the chat. Can't wait to get into this because as the saying goes, all right? If what is it? If you're representing yourself at trial, you have a fool for a client.
Yeah, pretty much. I think she likes to hear herself talk, and I know that a lot of people here have their opinions on Shallow Vallow Daybell. She wants to be called Daybell, but I refuse. I do believe that she likes the limelight. She knows her ship is sunk. She's sentenced, and she's not going anywhere for her Iowa cases. This is just, again, justice for Charles Vallow, his family, his brother Jerry. Kay and his wife, all of the people who love Charles Vallow. This is what this is for. And Brandon Boudreaux, that comes after this. So another conspiracy with attempted murder. We'll get into that in a little bit, but let's take a listen to some media here about Lori Shallow Vallow.
Lori Vallow Daybell, her trial piquing the interest of people all across the country. And it took less time than anticipated to seat a jury. They are now in place. The so-called doomsday mom, already convicted of killing her children in Idaho, she will be serving a life sentence up there. But now she's facing 2 separate murder conspiracy cases in Arizona. She is representing herself and has pled not guilty in both cases. The first trial, she's accused of conspiring to kill her former husband, Charles Vallow, so she could be with her current husband, Chad Daybell. Daybell also convicted of killing Lori's young children up in Idaho and also murdering his first wife, Tammy. The I-Team's Erica Stapleton spoke with one of the prosecutors in that Idaho case. Again, 2 guilty verdicts on what we can expect up there.
Lori Vallow is fundamentally a narcissist. The world exists for Lori. In Lori's world, I'm not surprised at all that she is attempting to represent herself. She has been very successful, calculated way at manipulating people around her, manipulating men, manipulating facts to get people to do things for her in a way that's very unique.
Do you think she stands a chance?
I can't process that a jury paying attention will find her not guilty.
Ed, can I just stop that and answer that? The reporter asked her, do you think she stands a chance? And I have this to say.
Oh, hell no.
You knew it was coming, right, brother?
I agree. I agree 100%. Part of my French, but you're an asshole. Okay. Look, she's a master manipulator. All right. And she's what we call a black widow, right? Any man on that jury, that knows what she's done and what she's capable of. I don't see that as a positive to her, thinking that she's going to be able to manipulate these guys. She has like SAF written all over her, right? Stay away from. I mean, you see the way she strutted into court in that one news clip, like she was the queen of the prom. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I think the men know this is bad news here, and when the case gets laid out, it's not going to go in her favor.
Yeah, and one of our live chatters, Diane Hubbard, said, "Oh goodness, this is going to be another Sarah Boone saga." I think this is going to be worse because of her extreme beliefs, her extreme religious beliefs. She didn't shake that, in my opinion. I could be humbly wrong, but I don't think Lori Vallow has shaken off her extreme religious beliefs, and it may actually come into this courtroom. We may see that, and I know it gets shut down, but she's going to just again. Remember, she's going to be cross-examining the state witnesses. How is that going to play out?
Yeah, she's writing a script, and she has a legal advisor, but they can't really do much. But you know, it's funny in regards, and it's pathetic actually too. At the same time, that she's gonna be cross-examining these people, and I think she's going to testify.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. Let's let the rest of this play. Let us know what you think in the chat. Will Lori Vallow testify on her own behalf? Press a 1 if you think she will. Press a 2 if you think she won't. And let's listen to the rest of this.
It's a calculated way at manipulating people around her, manipulating men, manipulating facts to get people to do things for her in a way that's very unique.
Do you think she stands a chance?
I can't process that a jury paying attention will find her not guilty.
And Erica is here now with the backstory. Erica, you were there yesterday as the jury is now set. You know, that's not the first time that we've heard the many personalities of Lori Vallow Daybell, right?
Yes.
Even when we talked to NBC's Dateline Keith Morrison, he mentioned that she was flirtatious. What did you make of her actions, her tone, her attitude towards the judge yesterday when you saw her?
Well, it's been really interesting because yesterday was the first day potential jurors could see her, and she had the opportunity to ask them some questions. So did the prosecution, so did the judge. That's how you whittle down a jury in a case like this. And it was really interesting because we've seen her representing herself in hearings now, and she can get really fervent, really passionate, raising her voice, you know. And when she went up there to talk to those potential jurors, she was kind of quiet, more timid. And it was interesting. It brought me back to her trial in Idaho where we didn't hear a peep out of her. And she had attorneys in that case who were with her. So maybe that was their advice. But at her sentencing, she kind of comes out in a quiet voice. And then she starts talking about, you know, having these visions. And, you know, the term that the judge used in that case was religious delusion. She was down a rabbit hole deeply. So, and that's a bit of what we saw in that interview with Dateline too. So it'll be very curious to see what she's going to open with in her opening statements and how she might conduct herself, especially when a jury that's going to be determining her fate is in the room.
Does this jury know she killed her kids?
Not at this point, and
not supposed to, right? I mean,
not
it's a pretty
supposed to,
publicized
no.
case.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions that was asked of all of them is, have you seen this case? Do you know this woman? Do you know anything about this? And I was quite frankly surprised at the speed in which they seated a jury because of all, you know, the notoriety around this case. But
I want to stop it there because I listened to some of the prosecution's argument during the course of leading up to getting these jurors seated. And Ed and the chat, I'm leaving this on here because it's showing the jurors, you know, 3 women and the rest are 13 men. The district attorney argued that she wanted all 3 of the charges that she was convicted and sentenced on, all 3. That's her 2 children, and also Tammy Daybell. So that was what ADA from Maricopa County, Miss Kay, she asked the judge to allow that, and I didn't hear a ruling yet on that, but I don't believe he ruled on it. But they were asking to be able to let the jurors know about her 3 convictions and where she's coming from, where she's transported here from state of Idaho. So
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll get into it in a few minutes because again, there's an argument there for that as well. Let us know what you think in the chat.
You know, it was an efficient process. The judge is not playing around here. He's moving things along. And there, on both sides, there were very few people dismissed. There was a pretty big pool to choose from who claimed they've not seen anything about this case. So that's where we should be going in.
But this, her testifying in a vacuum, or her doing her own case in a vacuum, you could see where she could kind of manipulate people, because mostly men in the jury, correct?
Yeah, as far as we can tell, and I will say that the court can't confirm anything about the jury. This is supposed to be private information, but being in the room, it appeared to be 13 men and 3 women. And those 16 people, all 16 will be sitting in and listening to testimony in this case. And then once testimony concludes, 12 of them will be moved on to deliberate, and 4 will be determined to be alternates in case something happens. So those are the people who will be listening to the facts of this case as it's presented. And I know coming up in our later shows, we'll be talking more about maybe the differences between this trial and the one in Idaho, and some of the similarities, because the core of this case really are those dark religious beliefs and her relationship with Chad Daybell, her current husband.
And what's interesting is how Arizona's selection process in picking out the jury, it's different than other states. It's changed over the years. What struck out to you when you were listening to the questioning of, you know, these potential jurors and just, you know, selecting them to be seated for this case?
Again, the amount of people that hadn't heard about this case was really surprising to me, but ultimately good for this court to be able to move forward like it has. We know that there was a venue change in Idaho because they were concerned about finding an impartial jury. And that selection process took a lot longer, but again, it's a smaller jurisdiction. And here we have tons of criminal cases going on all at the same time. So not surprising in that sense. And we did hear, based on some of the questions that the prosecutors and Lori were able to ask of the jury, we're expecting that religion will come into play here. They mentioned that, you know, there will be a gun brought into the play here. So they asked if anyone had any biases towards guns. So we heard some of those kinds of questions, and that's what we're expecting to hear in the case. And what's interesting in Arizona, you mentioned some differences between here and other states, is that jurors are actually allowed to ask questions. And it's not that they can just raise their hand and say it, but they can say, hey, we have a question. They write it out, and that's something that the judge and both sides review. And if it's something that they're able to answer, then they'll do that. So
and that gives you insight sometimes as to what they're thinking.
Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
Erica, thank you. You're going to be doing a lot of work.
And Ed, as it pertains to jurors asking questions, we saw it with, as you mentioned in the green room before we went live, over with evil monster Shonda Vander Ark's trial. And that was her son, Timothy Ferguson, who she murdered, starved to death, and tortured, along with her other son, carrying out these this horrific murder of her son. Those jurors were able to pass questions to the judge, and that's what's going to happen here. This should be an interesting trial, but I wanted to just quote what one defense attorney said I heard today. A defendant who represents themselves makes conviction easier, but it takes a lot longer time-wise because of their lack of knowledge of the system. So any thoughts on that, Ed?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Okay, because they don't know the system. They're going to be objecting to things that, you know, they're going to be overruled a lot. It's going to drag out because they don't know the proper law and the procedures and the criminal procedure law and the courtroom ethics and everything involved in presenting a case. Okay, well, they have some, like I said, they have a legal advisor, but the legal advisor cannot stop them from doing things. Now, it's very rare that this happens. In my career, I've only had 2 cases where the perpetrator represented themselves, and one was a capital punishment case in Queens, and they represented himself. But this person was a fool, honestly. I mean, I was on a stand, and he was questioning me. Now, this was a horrific homicide. There were 4 people killed. Okay. Right. And, you know, he rounded them up, put them in a bedroom in the 2nd floor of an apartment, and he left one dead on the 1st floor, and he would pull them out one at a time out of the bedroom and then torture them, rape them, and kill them. Okay. It was a lot of blood spatter everywhere. And so I did a bloodstain pattern analysis, and I was testifying about that. And then on cross-examination, he asked me this convoluted question. Right. And so in order to establish what it is exactly he was trying to say, I questioned him back. I said, are you trying to ask me, is that when you were killing these women, and creating all this blood spatter, was I there to witness you do this? And he goes, yeah, when I was doing this, did you witness me do this?
Oh my God.
And the judge looked at me and he says, detective, really? And I said, it's all right. I didn't understand his question.
And you couldn't help yourself. So interesting. Mike King from Profiling Evil's in the chat. Hey, Mike, drive safely. And it's great to see you always. Great channel over there on Profiling Evil. Mike's a good friend of ours. You know, there's so many moving parts to this. But again, the trial on Monday, starting Monday, will be for the conspiracy to, you know, to commit murder of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. But if you look at it, that was 7/11. That was July 11th of 2019. After that July 11th murder of her husband, you had her two children. Tylee Ryan goes missing and disappears on 9/9 of 19. And then Joshua JJ on 9/23 disappears. And they were both remains found June 9th of 2020 in the backyard of Chad Daybell's property in his pet cemetery. But in between that time, and again, after those murders of the two children, Tammy Daybell mysteriously dies and was buried on October 19th of 2019. She dies. You guys look at how this is all happening, right? But 2 months later, her body was exhumed and they conducted an autopsy and said she died by asphyxiation by suffocation. And then December, just a month and a half later, December of 2019, Alex Cox dies of natural causes. The Maricopa County medical examiner ruled that he died by natural causes, a natural death, some type of heart-related or just said natural. I tried to look for the paperwork online. I couldn't find it. I know it's out there. But what I'm saying here is this is a killing machine between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. And with the help of her brother, they were able to convince him to be their henchman because he, I believe, tried to kill Brandon Bordeaux as well, because it was the same MO as what happened to Tammy the days before she died. Somebody came into her driveway with what she thought was a BB gun and it didn't fire. Remember that, Ed?
Yes. And, you
So
know,
Brandon Bordeaux, he was in his Jeep and someone took shots at him.
Right. And people keep calling this saying religion. This is not religion. In my opinion, this is a cult.
Yeah.
All right. She has all the earmarks of a David Koresh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some folks in the chat are saying that Alex Cox died of a pulmonary embolism, but what I quickly looked at and said cause of death by the Maricopa County medical examiner, May of 2020. They stated his cause of death was natural. So maybe pulmonary embolism would be considered natural. Ed, you worked in the medical examiner's office.
Yeah. It's definitely respiratory clotting and so forth. So yeah, that would be a natural. But he would have to have had a clot somewhere in his body, and it got to the lungs, and but it's still suspicious though, right? Because there was no inability to do a second autopsy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is what I'm saying here is that everybody that got in the path and that was not a part of her, her program, or didn't go along with it, or didn't just go away, he took care of them. And this is the crazy part, is if she was not locked up, how many more people would have died? Let's listen to Brandon Bordeaux's private investigator. He gave an interview, and it was interesting because I found that what he said during this interview, it was shocking. He said that people were dying as he was investigating around him. And that was the timeline that I just gave you, all those September, October of 2019, December of 2019. So listen to what he had to say.
A jury has been seated and sworn in for Lori Vallow Daybell's first of 2 murder conspiracy trials. This one has to do with her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. He was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox, in July 2019. Cox claimed it was self-defense. Cox, though, died of natural causes later that year. 13 men and 3 women have been selected as part of the jury. 12 will ultimately deliberate with 4 alternates. Trial is scheduled to start on Monday. Vallow Daybell will also stand trial for conspiracy to commit murder against her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. He was shot at while driving in Arizona in October 2019. Bianca Buono with our sister station in Phoenix sat down with a private investigator who was hired to look into the web of crimes and killings all connected to Vallow Daybell.
We didn't know where the next attack might come from.
For 25 years, Rich Robertson has worked as a private investigator in Arizona, but he'll be hard-pressed to ever work a case like this one again.
People were dying while I was investigating.
In 2019, Robertson was contacted by Brandon Boudreaux, the now ex-husband of Lori Vallow Daybell's niece. Boudreaux had just been shot at, and from the beginning, he thought Lori Vallow Daybell had something to do with it. Her two
By the way, Lori Vallow, Shallow Vallow, looks nothing like this now. If you guys have seen or been following this trial, I know most of you have been, she's pretty hard looking. She's not able to get her Botox injections and all the things that she was able to get on the outside. In my opinion, she's aged pretty horribly. So let us know what you think in the chat.
to do with it. Her 2 children, JJ and Tylee, had recently disappeared.
He felt that they were all related. He hired me to try to find where everybody went because they all fled to Idaho.
And months before Boudreaux's attempted murder, Lori Vallow Daybell's ex-husband, Charles Vallow, was shot and killed in Chandler.
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
This 911 call was made by Alex Cox, Lori Vallow Daybell's brother, admitting to shooting Charles Vallow.
Ed, how many people call 911 and say, I shot my brother-in-law in self-defense?
Yeah, and very little emotion at all. Okay.
Yeah. And he lied.
It was so matter of fact.
Yeah, he lied about giving CPR because that they were able to tell this is all stuff that may or may not come up in the trial. But essentially, when paramedics got there, there was no indication. When you do CPR on someone who's shot, multiple times, you're going to have some blood coming up and so forth. And there was all the indications that CPR was never administered. We all heard that 911 call where she says to him, go over and give compressions. And he's like, okay, I'm doing it. He never did it. He was full of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Claiming it was self-defense. At the time, Richardson recalls it wasn't a high-profile case for police.
They didn't really dig into it. I don't think it was until after all these other deaths that they went back into it.
And this investigator is 100% right, because you and I talked about this, Ed. I'll put us back on. Remember what we said, how they dropped the ball on this? They, Shallow Vallow was able to go into the police station over in Gilbert and sit down with her legs folded Indian style, and her daughter was in there, and she basically was able to just bamboozle the police department and walk out free, her and her brother. And he said here, once everyone started dropping, they started backtracking. Remember we critiqued this whole thing of how they allowed him to sit on that sidewalk, the gun was inside. I mean, he came out, they had guns drawn on him, and he sat down on the curb. There's just so much to this that was troubling as far as investigation goes from our standpoint. But
yeah, and the cases in Idaho and the medical legal death investigation and the rookie MLI having to go on and Google certain things, to make conclusions.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting trial, but let's let the rest of this play, because this private investigator, I mean, to me, that was a bit of juicy information that, may come up in this trial, that, look, people were dropping all around, and it was all because people were dying because of Lori Shallow Vallow's extreme beliefs. And if they were going to try to stop her, as we heard, we'll listen to the 911, the body cam footage of Charles Vallow, may he rest in peace. It's so sad to see him pleading in January of 2019 with cops about his wife and her calling him all different, beings, and how he was, his body was taken over and the Hiplos and all of that crazy nonsense. And he was dismissed by these cops. They basically were just like, yeah, it's the LDS church. And, it was really, I mean, looking at it, when I listened to it today, it kind of broke my heart to hear the way he was dismissed and how loving he was right up until when he was ambushed and killed by Alex Cox inside this location that we see here.
Wasn't a high-profile case for police.
They didn't really dig into it. I don't think it was until after all these other deaths that they went back into it to put together the conspiracy.
As more deaths continued to happen, prosecutors say that conspiracy became clear. Now, more than 5 years later, Lori Vallow Daybell has been convicted of murdering her 2 children, conspiring to murder the first wife of her current husband, Chad Daybell, and is serving multiple life sentences. She's now back in Arizona representing herself in court, charged with conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Charles Vallow. The jury officially seated and sworn in on Tuesday.
Her representing herself is not going to help her at all. This trial is going to be a circus.
During Robertson's time
Amen.
investigating this bizarre and tragic case, most of his questions have been answered. But today, days away from the start of yet another trial, the biggest that remains is why.
I'm not sure we've ever really gotten to the why, or it's certainly not a why that any of us can quite understand. We're all trying to come up with rational explanations for these irrational acts. I don't think we'll ever get there.
And I agree. I don't think
100%. 100%.
Yeah, she's evil in many different ways. But what's for me, and everyone's going to have their own opinions on this, Ed, but for me, for her to represent herself is a way for her to further victimize the surviving victims' families. Kay and Larry are going to have to come in. I believe she's going to testify for the state. She's going to be able to cross them. And it's just, for me, it puts her in another category of evil to knowingly put people through this. You're a piece of crap. You know what you did. And now you're going to sit there and try to conduct your own defense in a
she's not of right mind, okay? Because she believes that everything she did is justified by her cult behavior, okay?
Right.
Her cult beliefs, okay? Yeah. She should really change her name to Cassandra, right? Isn't that like the meaning of Cassandra, like harbinger of death? Okay, because she thinks that God had given, in her cult mind, that God had gave her the ability to see people for who they really are, and so she then sees people as being evil, and that gives her the authority to go and deal with that evil.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ed. I mean, she's 100% the essence of evil. When you look at her, it's like she just doesn't have a soul. And I'm glad you pointed out that this isn't indicative of the LDS Church. This isn't about the religion being bad. It's about bad people within that religion, and every religion has extremists in it. We can go right down the line. So we have to put this in perspective. Lori and Chad were very extreme and over the top, and their beliefs and their everything that he preached and taught through his writings and his books and on the podcasts. These people are loons, as far as I'm concerned. And they were killing machines in 2019, and if they weren't stopped, it wouldn't have stopped, in my opinion.
No, they would have kept killing.
Yeah. Let's say hello to some of the super chatters. Jeff, always Jeff and Eileen, thank you for being here. He says, hi, Mr. Wallace and DutyRon. Thank you so much, Barbara George, for being a member for almost 2 years almost here. Hi, DutyRon and Ed. Good to see you. Nicole, thank you for gifting a membership. And Angela, I'm surprised. Well, I know she's not out dancing this weekend because she broke both of her ankles. So she fell down the stairs at her dad's house. And So she's kind of hemmed up. So I hope you heal up soon, and I hope everything is going good for you, Angela.
Ditto.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you for the super chat. She says, "Oh, the Black Widow, fatal attraction, nasty." Yeah. Heather, whatever, member for 31 months. Thank you both. No, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Ed's correct. Red flags. Cult. She's evil. Man, it's a rough case. But listen, our good friend Nate Eaton from East Idaho News. Oh my God. Him and Laura from Hidden True Crime have been covering this case like unbelievably. And they're going to be obviously my go-tos to get inside the court information, because they'll both be inside the court. And for those of you who are interested, the camera is going to be one pool camera in the media room in the back of the court. So unfortunately, we're not going to get a view of Lori's wonderful, beautiful face. I just threw up in my mouth. Vallow's face will not be on that camera unless, of course, she gets up on that witness stand and she gets in the box. So that's what we're looking at. The court is going to be one camera in the media room through glass, shooting from the back of the court. That's what we got. Nate Eaton goes over Charles Vallow's last text with Alex Cox's brother, Adam. Let's listen to this, because Nate puts so much time into it, and I love to watch his stuff and promote it with you guys.
Here's just some of them. This comes from court documents. Everything seemed to change in June of 2019. That's a month before Charles Vallow died. On the 26th of June, 2019, Charles Vallow sent a text message to Adam Cox, Lori's brother, asking if he could chat. The two then had a telephone conversation. The next day, Charles sent Adam a link that talked about a, quote, translated being and about traveling to other dimensions. Charles told Adam that this was what Lori had been talking about extensively. Subsequent text messages expressed the opinion that Lori was ruining people's lives, to include Brandon Boudreaux, assumedly. Charles stated that Lori needed to be stopped before she ruined other marriages. The next day, June 28th, Adam sends Charles a text message stating that he told his mother they needed to have a family meeting to hold Lori accountable and have her explain the things that she'd been saying. Charles responded, "I will not be there. This is on her. I tried getting her help, and the entire family, except for you, put a scarlet letter on my forehead. The truth is, I put her back in Arizona so she could do her evil somewhere else. The only thing she's doing right is with JJ. He doesn't understand why his mommy left him for 72 days, but she did, and she blames it all on me. Good luck, Adam, and my prayers are with all of you. I don't think it'll work because she knows she's, quote, special." Charles then added on and on and on. So I would imagine they will present these texts that Charles is aware something's up. How much the prosecution in this case will go into religion, I think you would have to. The question is, how much will they get into the whole zombies and light dark scale? It will be fascinating to see. On June 29th, Charles discovered the email that Lori sent to Chad Daybell, where she presented to be Charles. Remember that email where it's like, "Hey, my name's Charles Vallow. I listened to you speak, and you're a wonderful speaker, and I heard you write, and I'm wondering if you would come to Arizona and help me write my biography," something like that. I don't remember all the details. I have it, but I didn't pull the time to take the time to pull it up. So, and Charles confronted Lori about this, and this is what he said. Let's see. They had gone back and forth. "Then tell me why you used my name," this is to Lori from Charles, "and fictitious email to send a BS email about a book I'm having him ghostwrite for me. It's a fraud and a lie. There's no other reason for it other than to get him to Arizona and have an excuse for his wife. You did this. I had nothing to do with it, and you know it. Also, he did not stay with us in November. I will find out." Lori responds, "You're wasting your time. They are both my friends. Move on with your life. We are done. Let's just get through it." Charles, "You're destroying people's lives. Had I known you were spending hours talking to Mel and poisoning her toward Brandon, I would have said something. You're disgusting. You have had a serious disconnect. Otherwise, you'd send your lover Moroni to come zap me or put me in a pod, or him do to Joe. Get through it. Are you going to go to court to fine?" I believe. Are you going to go to court to fine? Otherwise, nothing will happen. You just hate it when your evil ways have been exposed. That is a lie, and you know it. Lori, I'm tired of the way you're speaking to me. I will not stay married to someone who claims to be a priesthood holder and speaks to me the way you do. Charles, me? Look at what you say to me. You've called me Ned and Garrett, and you call me off. Lori, go look in the mirror. You will be stopped. That's all I'll say, and you won't see it coming. You are in need of some serious help. I do have the priesthood, but you're the one having the affair. You're out of your mind. Think about all the things you truly believe about yourself. I'm the one being brave enough and loves you enough to call you on this BS, which is all it is. You've been horribly deceived. You asked me if I ever hurt anyone, and the answer is hell yes. Just look around you. You're destroying every family you touch. Whew. Lori says, stop texting me or I'm blocking you. I'll assume you're not coming to pick up JJ since you are off to try to get non-existent evidence against me. Have fun with that.
She's sick. I mean, this guy was trying his best to tell her, hey, you need help. And once she realized, Ed and chat here, that he was not going to be just disappear easy, her and Chad made that decision with Alex that they had to eliminate her. And they used religion to justify it. That's the crazy part. And I mean, listen, I don't know how closely everybody's been following this. I haven't been following it like, on it like a hawk, but I've done my research. And what I just said is basically it in a nutshell. They decided at that point, he's not cooperating. We got to get rid of him. Ed?
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a conspiracy after that exchange there between the three of them. And we know what happened.
Yeah. Alex went over there and stayed with her the night before. He had that gun there. I believe it was a 357 Magnum or a 45. It was a 357, right, Ed? I'm not sure. But he had the handgun. We'll see it in the body cam footage. Laid it on the floor. He did what he had to do. And they basically lured him into that death trap inside that house. And it's a shame. But I'm just glad that they were stopped and they were caught. But I wish that they were caught sooner. And that's the thing. Let's listen to a little bit more of this.
This was end of June. Charles Vallow died in July. Next text. I think I just played that one. Okay, sorry, ignore the top one. Stop texting me or I'm blocking you. Charles and says, I don't enjoy fighting with you, but you need to be stopped from destroying so many lives that you've already, with your whacked out delusions, you've made our beautiful gospel a thing of horror. That will stop. Just take care of JJ. You get out where you belong. Till you get out where you belong, just keep me updated on how our boy is doing. That's all for now. Pick him up. I'm staying at my house. Lori, no, you are not. Jason blank will make sure of it. Get a hotel or stay with Brandon, your best friend, Brandon Boudreaux. So Charles is saying, I'm going to come and stay at my house. Lori's saying, no, you're not. No, is he on the lease? I'll have the police there. If he tries, it's my house. Are you going to stay with your boyfriend at his hotel since he's making so much money writing a book for me? Lori, okay, Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan's her third husband who died. He is the police. He is retired. He is not on the lease. Even he can't do anything. Assuming she's talking about Jason Mao, who worked for the police department, who is, Lori is saying, I'll get him to stop you, and they go back and forth. More texts. Lori, you don't come. Stay in Houston until the divorce is done. Charles, not filing. I'll be there later. Like I said, when I come to the door, you can leave if you like. Take Tylee too. You get awful angry when you get caught in your lies. Lori, JJ is sick and wants his mommy. Out of all the texts when I was preparing this one hit me. JJ is sick and wants his mommy. Good rich. I think she means good luck trying to take him away from me.
Good riddance.
Here is Charles trying to make sure his son's okay. He's in Houston. He's coming to Arizona. He's concerned. He's raised the alarm. He's texting his wife, calling her out on this affair. She's denying it. She's lying. She's saying, JJ can't come with you. He's sick. Charles is going home to die, to be murdered, allegedly. And these are the texts days before his death. I'm not taking him anywhere. I believe this is Charles. I'm not taking him anywhere. I hope he gets better soon. I'm staying there. I've never taken him from.
Remember, folks, these are civil texts between July 2nd and July 9th of 2019. And Charles Vallow was murdered on July 11th of 2019.
We've been good at working together since you came back from Hawaii, assumedly. As you can see, it's affected him greatly. Hopefully he'll get better soon. I don't want to escalate this any further. Let's both calm down and do what we're supposed to do. Take care of our boy. I'm sorry I upset you. I will find out the truth eventually about all your doings. I'll leave the rest to you. We need to talk about Mo Run, but not today. Let's try tomorrow and both agree to be civil. I'm not going to file for divorce. I'll leave that to you. Charles told Adam Cox that this was a great example of what was happening, and this was the first time he's told Lori about how he feels. So Charles sent all of this conversation over to Adam Cox. So Adam had an idea of the relationship between the two of them. Then the texts, according to police documents, were pretty civil from July 2nd until July 9th. What other texts were swinging back and forth between Lori and Chad and Alex at that time? Well, we know some of them. I'm not going to take the time to go through them tonight. I imagine will come out in court. The ones where Lori's saying you need to stay close to me, Alex, the night before Charles was shot, things like that.
Oh, you can bet your bottom dollar that the state is going to have those texts between Lori and Chad to show this conspiracy and how they set him up, right, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what's mystifying to me is that, the brother and I don't believe he died natural.
No. Alex Cox did not die natural. They had to have done something to him in a similar fashion as what they did to Tammy Daybell. Remember, we have Barbara Butcher, the New York City legal medical death investigator, on with us. And Barbara said, when we talked about that pink frothy foam,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So Tammy Daybell, Chad made her ingest something, I believe, that caused her heart to stop. That caused, she was asphyxiated, but something came out of that pink frothy foam that was coming out of her mouth, unless that's something that happens, Ed, after you're basically suffocated and choked. Is that possible here with Tammy? But Alex was a healthy guy, just like she was. And all of a sudden he is dead after he completes his mission. That's killing Charles Vallow.
Right, that was the loose end now. We got to get rid of him too.
Yeah, dead men tell no tales, right? So it's unbelievable. It's people are talking about the Malicite and all of that stuff. I didn't hear anything about that from the medical examiner's reports and so forth. So we'll see. Let's listen to a little bit more of this, and we'll go to the audience and take some questions.
On July 10th,
one day before,
Adam flew to Arizona to try to arrange a family meeting with Lori. Adam's flight, I hope you can see that. Adam's, flight was booked by Charles. A text sent to Adam from Charles on July 9th reads as follows, quote, one moment. This is, again, so the 10th was Charles Vallow died on the 11th. This text was sent on the 9th, 2 days before he died. Your flights are booked. You should have the emails. I'm really uneasy about how she will respond, not only to you, but to me and blank and Brandon. I'll pick up JJ and take him to school at 8 a.m. Thursday. She'll be there. Friday the same. She will be highly suspicious about recording. Let me back up. They had talked, Adam and Charles had talked about going in and recording audio, Lori, recording some sort of interaction with Lori.
Yeah, because he wanted to record so people can hear how crazy she was talking. At that point, she was saying that he was all these different levels and that, you're this one and all of these crazy names that, I don't have off the top of my head. Zeplo and all this crazy bullshit that she was doing. So he wanted to get her on audio recording, but she was suspicious of it. So he was trying to work out a plan to have a backup recorder.
get some sort of recording, and they had gone back and forth about having a backup recorder. Those are also in the text, but so that's why they're talking about recording. She'll be highly suspicious about recording. If you can bring a second device and put your phone on the counter or turn it off, it might help. Just a brother talking to his sister. I personally feel she's gone too far. It is going to take us going to blank, or she won't ever stop. She's hurting too many families. Mine is gone, Adam. I just want to save others from the same fate. I still love her more than life.
Wow.
But the slots we knew is gone. I fear forever. Gosh. 2 days before he died. Then got it.
That's powerful.
I believe Adam said, got it. But honestly, if you blank Brandon and me go to him, that should be enough. I believe they're talking about a religious leader, going to a religious leader to have Lori Vallow's temple recommend pulled, which a temple recommend is like a pass. It's a piece of paper that you go to your leader of your congregation, and you're asked questions about excuse me, a series of questions about.
He's got the same cough we do, Ed.
Whether you're living a clean life, a moral life. If you say yes, the leader gives you this recommend. You can then go to the temple anywhere in the world, any of the LDS temples, and get into the temple, which Lori was going to daily.
I'm going to answer this in Clover Bliss 100,000% yes. Ed?
Yes.
They were killing machines. And
yes,
they would kill anybody, including Melanie Gibb, if they could have, because she was going along somewhat with them and then not going along with them. Anybody that swayed just a little bit would have been eliminated. Thank you for that question.
So they're talking about going to her leader, her bishop, I believe, and talking about filling the bishop in on what's happening. Charles arrived in Phoenix on July 10th. He stayed at a hotel that Lori rented for him. In a text by Charles.
So this is crazy. The morning he arrived, Lori Vallow rented a hotel for him to stay in. But knowing that she was going to come because her brother Alex was there overnight in her home, in the home where he ultimately was murdered. So she rented his hotel room for him to stay overnight and then to have him come there. So she did the logistics for all of his lodging and set him up, and knew that she was going to leave the house and that Alex was going to be sitting there waiting for him to kill him. And that's what we see him on the floor, walks into the entrance of the front door and takes a right turn and is blasted by Alex Cox. Vicious monsters.
Charles to Lori. He asked if the hotel room was already paid for, and she informed him it was. Charles then responded, thanks. I'll see him tomorrow. I'll take him to school and pick him up. Friday too, thanks. On July 11th, the day Charles was killed, Charles went to Lori's residence in Chandler. At 7:34, Charles's phone showed just west of 5531 South Four Peaks Place. Between 7:35 and 7:37, the following text string was located between Charles and Adam. Charles, Al is here, meaning Alex. Adam, at Lori's? Adam, really? I wonder why he never called me back. Adam, they are planning something. Charles, absolutely. Adam, I was supposed to spend the night at his house last night. She probably blocked that. What you do is up to you. That was the last message read by Charles at 7:37. Adam would send the following message at 7:37, but it was not read until 12:13 when Charles was dead and Lori was control of his phone. Adam, I'm going to put the pressure to have him come get me right now. See what he says. Adam, okay? There were no further messages from Charles. Adam would send Charles the following messages at 7:49. Following message. Me and Blank are going to the Stake Center tonight at 8 to play basketball. Blank is always there, either playing ball or interviewing people. I will try to catch him to have a conversation with my old friend. Again, I believe he's talking about the religious leader. When you
All right, I'm going to stop it there. That's incredibly chilling. The last text messages from Alex Cox's brother, Adam, saying something is up, and Charles Vallow saying yes and acknowledging it. He knew something was up, but he still went there to go pick up JJ. he still went there as a good father to try to do whatever he had to do to settle the score or to try to make things right. And he walked into a death trap. And that's the sad part. These people are monsters. Lori Vallow deserves to rot in prison for the rest of her life, which she will. But my only regret is that she was able to finagle her way out of the death penalty because Chad Daybell sentenced to death. She should have, in my opinion, been sentenced to death as well. And it's a shame that she wasn't, because although it takes a long time, her rotting from the inside out, I think, is fitting for somebody as evil as her. And Chad will rot from the inside out before he's put to death in Idaho, Idaho. Look, let's go to some questions. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. This is going to be a trial that is going to have your head spinning. On Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, that's our time, Eastern time. This trial is on a 30-minute delay, so it's not going to be live, but it's 30 minutes delayed. I'm gonna live stream it for you guys on Monday. It's opening statements by the prosecution and by Charles Vallow. Ed, any thoughts on this? And I'm gonna go and look at some of the super chats and stuff.
Well, I'm going to predict this trial is going to be a circus.
Oh, Major League, Barnum and Bailey.
Yeah, 3-ring, the whole 9 yards.
On steroids. Yeah. It's going to be bad. So Laura says that she's going to the trial. Contact Oblivious Benson for updates. Could you contact me for updates? I will contact OB, Laura. But my goodness, if you're going, I'm already in communication with Lauren Matthias from Hidden True Crime. I'm going to try to get her to come on as a guest if she can. I know she's going to be busy doing a lot of her own stuff, but I'm going to try to get her to come on with us to give us a little bit of insight from somebody in the courtroom's perspective. I'm hoping that she gets in there. I'm hoping that it's a small courtroom, so I'm hoping everybody gets a chance to get in there. But thank you for that. Angela, thank you for the super love. She said, I'm so glad you guys are covering this case. Can't wait for the outcome. The outcome is going to be guilty 100%. And thank you, Diane B., for being a member for over 56 months. That's my neighbor across the street, my good friend, Diane B. Yeah, she's going to call witnesses, I'm sure.
Yeah, we haven't seen a witness list yet, but yeah, it's her right to do so. And given the narcissism that I see here, she's definitely going to be calling witnesses.
Yeah. I have a short interview with Doug Hart. He's the former FBI agent who worked on the Charles Vallow case with the prosecution with Chad Daybell. He's got some interesting things to say. I'm not going to play it all, but I want to get to it. Ed, did you see any other questions?
No.
Bruce Cook is in here saying free Karen Reed. Yeah, that trial's coming up too. And opening statements were today in the Rachel Morin murder trial. So that's another one that I'm going to watch closely. So there's a lot going on. Karen Reed, I believe that should be starting next week, trial. I don't know if they seated all their jurors, but that's going to be unbelievable. It's a second trial for the murder of police officer John O'Keefe. So we'll see what happens there with that trial.
Yeah, boy, that's going to be another circus too. I got a question.
Okay, go.
Seeking justice. Ed, thoughts on the projectiles on the body? 1 from the kitchen bench distance, 1 up close. Can that be proven? Yeah, if you have gunshot residue patterns around the bullet hole entrances in the clothing, and we have the gun, we know what gun was used, we know what ammo was used, we have the trajectory through the body from the autopsy. We can do trajectory and muzzle to target distance testing with the gun and the ammunition to see if we can replicate those patterns and show where somebody could potentially be standing at the time the gun was discharged.
Wow. You can always get a detailed answer from Ed Wallace. That's for sure.
I just did, as you know, a shooting reconstruction lecture at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office this past week.
Yeah, I'm pissed off that they didn't film that because I wanted to let everybody see that. I thought that would have been really cool, but that the cards didn't align right for us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at this. Moderators, could you put the trigger warning? This is going to be the body cam footage of the police officer walking into the home where Charles Vallow was murdered. It's not easy to look at, but I want to take a peek at it. I don't know why this is doing that again. All right, give me 2 seconds, Ed. I'll be right back. Scan the chat.
He's like, give me 2 steps. All right, folks. Now that Ron is gone and we're all alone, what do you really have to say? Just kidding, just kidding. Oh boy. Will this craziness in this world ever stop? You know, it's like at some point in time, it's like, stop the world. I want to get off. Just my sanity. Holy smokes. Yeah. So many crazy people out there. Really, Ron had to run to the bathroom. Who's he kidding, right? We know where he really went. No, he's at the mic. He's working it. He's working it.
Cut it out, Wallace. I knew you were going to do that. All right, here we go. This is the officer walking into the home.
Chandler Police Department, anybody inside? Make yourself known.
Now he sees him. Checking him for a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And he shook his head no. You know what? Like, what's interesting about this is you ever at any point see him with his gun unholstered here? When I watched this the very first time, well, many years ago, that's the first thing that I put myself in that same position, uniform, on patrol, and I've handled so many homicides, first officer on the scene. When you have a home like this, or you're an apartment where there's multiple rooms and you have somebody obviously down, I mean, he already interviewed Alex outside. He said that he shot him. He knew that, but I don't know. He didn't even unholster his weapon.
Right. I mean, for officer safety, you're clearing the house. You don't know that what this guy is telling you outside is truthful.
I'm unholstering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, team, we got one subject down. Apparent gunshot wounds to the chest.
And is it me, or is this house filthy? Like, I mean, if Alex slept overnight there, I mean, mattresses on the floor, stuff thrown, like just strewn throughout. The rooms looked like they were ransacked. I mean, am I off base here?
No.
This is the only neat room, and I bet you this is Tylee's room.
Yeah. Just a mattress on the floor and some personal belongings.
Yeah.
He's right here in the living room. Firearm's going to be in the front door, in the front bedroom, laying on the ground next to a case. We didn't have any of that as of right now. This happened right here. I believe so. The firearm's in the other room here. What's up?
You can see EMS was doing CPR on him there. Again, sad, but this is what this case is about. This is about Lori Vallow, conspiracy, her conspiring with, I mean, you know, she had to have been conspiring with Chad Daybell, but she is alone on trial for conspiracy to commit murder of Charles Vallow, her fourth husband. This is going to be a long nail on chalkboard days, but you know, a lot of people love this kind of drama. She's going to create a ton of courtroom drama. She's going to be we're going to, if you're irritated with just the sight and the sound of Lori Vallow at this point, you're going to come Monday be disgusted further by listening to her and all of the bogus arguments that she's going to create. But we'll be there to cover it. Ed, I know you said you got some things to do, but 2 p.m. Eastern is when.
No, I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah, I was getting my weeks mixed up. Yeah, on Monday I'm available.
Yeah. So here's Debbie saying in all capital letters, DutyRon, you requested to be called Lori Daybell. And I know, Deb, you just did that to get my attention, but I won't do it. She's shallow Vallow to me. And I know it's like, look, the Vallow, you know, like the Vallow family doesn't want her to be called Vallow, but that, you know, they were married together. And I'm calling her shallow Vallow because she's a shallow person. She's a monster. She's a demon. And I like it. I like the sound of it, and I won't stop saying it. I want to thank everybody for being here. You know, we don't get to go live as often as we'd like to. There's been a lot of things going on. My wife is still going through the gigs with the loss of our beloved Oscar, and I'm not even good with it. I still look for him around the house. But, you know, as they say, you got to pick up and keep going, right? And I'm hoping that one day in the near future, she caves in and we can get another little puppy and have another little puppy in the house. But she's not quite there yet. And I'm not even going to be I'm not even going to touch that right now. But I want to thank everybody, especially Matty Boy Sully sent some really beautiful stuff to the house. Also, Angela, thank you for the card. Sarge sent me us both a really nice hanging window ornament with a beautiful little shiny kind of, it's almost like a crystal and the light shines through it. It's really beautiful. So thank you for that. And I wanted to show a picture of what Matt Sully sent us without doxing him. So here we go. This is me trying to be careful. His phone number's not on there, so let's show it. I don't know if that's coming through. There it is.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, Matty Boy. Always thoughtful. And so many of you guys have sent so many nice things. Princess Mitch, cards, all of you guys, just like a stack of them. So thank you. Thank you. Ed, final thoughts on this trial. I know it's going to be, like I said, tough, but I want to get your thoughts on what we can expect from Lori Vallow.
Well, all I can say is buckle up, folks. It's going to be a wild one, and keep your hands inside the cart during the ride at all times. Okay. Because it's going to be like a roller coaster, the highs and lows, and it's going to be crazy. Honestly, it's going to be really crazy.
Yeah. I'm not expecting, hold on. How did that happen, Ed? I'm not expecting anything great to come from this. It's going to be, she's going to fully embarrass herself. But who I really, my heart really breaks for is the witnesses that are going to be coming in to testify for the state. They're going to be subject to cross-examination by this savage, monstrous murderer. And that's the sad part. And it's the re-victimization that really gets me in the gut, because these people all do not deserve to go through this, a second, third, fourth time. We haven't heard from Chad Daybell's kids, but remember that interview when they were all saying that, we still stand behind our dad. I'll just be curious to hear from Chad's kids as well, and some of the other people who are involved behind the scenes in these things. And just for me, look, her son, we heard Kobe Ryan, he's got a lot to say. He's got his own podcast. He's got his own YouTube channel. Interesting stuff. If you want to go over there and check it out, you can. But on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the Vallow family, his brother Jerry, his wife Melanie, his sister, and all the folks that are going to have to come in to hear Kay and Larry. My heart breaks for him and for her. They're going to be in the mix, so we're going to send prayers and strength to them. And thank you all for being here tonight. Ed, I know you got something to say at the end of these things.
Yes, folks, thanks for being here. Thanks for spreading the word about us. I know you can get your true crime fix anywhere on the internet you desire, and that's why we're so honored that you're here with us. As I say always, folks, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Amen, brother. And thank you to the moderators, the replay viewers, the super chatters, and all of you who are here in the chat. Ocean Girl, I saw, a whole bunch of people. Pauline Buckles, people that we don't get to. ATS News, Mel Stiller. It's so many great people. Dawn Marie, Diane, Black Rose. I hope everything went well at your house today. We love you guys. Thank you for being here. Lexi, hope you're safe as well with all the storms. Buckle up. And we will see everybody soon. Good night from New York.